Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm always up for a good deep dive, and the article you sent over, Selecting the AI Approach for Data Analysis from Growth Rocks, this looks like a really good one.
Yeah, it really digs into some interesting stuff.
Okay, so, like, everyone's talking about ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing, what it can do.
Yeah.
But this article basically says, hold on, pump the brakes. It's not like the solution to everything.
Yes, Chat GPT is a really cool tool, but you got to know when to use it and more importantly, when to use something else.
So how do we know which AI is best for the data stuff we want to do?
Well, that's what's so cool about this article. It lays out like four main types of AI for data analysis. We've got econometrics, generative AI, deep learning, and then rule-based automation.
Okay, break those down for me because those are some pretty big words.
Sure. So let's start with econometrics.
Yeah.
So it's like, think about like if you want to understand how the economy works, like, how would raising interest rates affect GDP? Or like, is there a relationship between like how much education someone has and how much money they make?
Gotcha. So econometrics is kind of like looking for the connections in economic data.
Yeah, exactly. It uses like statistics and math to figure out those relationships, like cause and effect.
So that's econometrics. What about, was it generative AI?
Right. So generative AI, this is where ChatGPT kind of fits in, and it's all about like making new stuff. So think about like you could use it to write like marketing copy that sounds like it was written by a human.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. Or you could use it to generate art or even like compose music. It's really like taking what it knows and creating something new.
So econometrics is about finding patterns that are already there, and generative AI is about creating like new stuff based on those patterns.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. Okay, and then we got deep learning.
Okay, deep learning.
So this is where things get a little more complex. It's basically using like these artificial neural networks, which are kind of like modeled after the human brain.
Whoa, that sounds intense.
It is. It's pretty wild. And so what it does is it can analyze huge amounts of data and find like really complex patterns that like we as humans might not even notice.
So, like, is this the kind of AI they use for self-driving cars and stuff?
Exactly. Like there's so much data coming in from the sensors, and the deep learning model has to process it all like instantaneously to make decisions about like steering and braking and all that.
Yeah, there's no way a human could do all of that.
No way. And it's not just self-driving cars, it's also used for like facial recognition or like predicting like what someone's going to buy based on their past purchases.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like super powerful pattern recognition, but like on a whole other level.
Exactly. And then finally we have rule-based automation.
Okay, so rule-based automation. This sounds maybe a little less mind-blowing than deep learning.
Maybe, but it's still super useful. Basically, it's all about setting up like specific rules to automate tasks.
So like if this then that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you could use it to automatically process invoices or filter your email.
Like sexual social media posts.
Exactly. Anything that's like a repetitive task that follows a set of rules, you can automate it.
So we've got econometrics, the economy detective, generative AI,
Yeah.
the creative artist, deep learning, the super brain, and rule-based automation, the taskmaster.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like that. But now you're probably thinking, okay, this is all great, but how do I know which one to use?
You read my mind because that's exactly what I was about to ask. It's like all these tools sound cool, but how do I know which one is right for my data?
Yeah, and that's where the article gets even better. They give you this matrix, this decision-making matrix to help you figure it out. And it's not like super technical or anything.
Oh, good. I was worried it was going to be like some crazy algorithm.
Yeah, no, it's actually really straightforward. They break it down into like 5 key questions. So the first question is like, how bad is it if the AI gets it wrong?
Okay, so like the cost of being wrong.
Exactly. Like if you're using AI for, let's say, medical diagnoses or maybe like, financial trading.
High stakes stuff.
Yeah, then you really got to be sure that the AI is making the right calls. And you need to be able to like understand why it's making those calls. So in those cases, something like econometrics or rule-based automation would be better choices because they're more explainable.
That makes sense because you want to know like how it got to that conclusion, not just like a magic black box.
Right. And then the next question is, do you need to be able to explain those decisions to someone else?
So like if you're using AI to make a decision, do you need to be able to justify it?
Exactly. So think like healthcare, finance, law, where transparency is really important.
Yeah, you can't just be like, well, the AI said so.
No, not really. And again, that's where econometrics and rule-based automation are good choices because their decision-making process is very clear and traceable.
Gotcha. Okay, so then what's the next question?
So the next one is, do the models need to give you the same results every time?
So like consistency is important.
Yeah, think about like banking software or maybe a manufacturing process, where it's really important that the output is always the same.
Yeah, you don't want any surprises there.
No, you really don't. And then question number 4 is, does your data, does it have a clear source of truth?
So like, is there a right answer?
Right. Like, think about those structured databases, for things like credit scoring, where it's very clear what the right answer is or the right output should be.
So in those cases, you'd want to stick with econometrics or rule-based automation because they're based on those like hard and fast rules.
Yeah. And then the last question is, does the data that you're using to train the AI, does it reflect like the real world conditions?
Okay, so how well does the training data match up with like what the AI is actually going to be dealing with in the real world?
Exactly. So if it's a good match, then econometrics and rule-based automation are going to be solid choices. But if it's more of a dynamic, unpredictable environment,
Like things are changing all the time.
yeah, then you might need something more like deep learning or generative AI because they can adapt better to those, more complex situations.
So like voice recognition or image generation, things like that.
Exactly, because there are so many different variables and things are always changing.
Wow, this matrix is actually really helpful. It seems like it really simplifies things. It's not about picking the most advanced AI. It's about, picking the right AI for the job.
That's exactly it. And the article actually gives some really cool examples of how these different models can be used for marketing data analysis, which, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's get specific. How can I use this stuff for my marketing?
Okay, so let's say you're trying to figure out, how much your ad budget is actually affecting your sales.
A classic marketing question.
Right. So you could use econometrics for that. You've got all this data on like how much you spent on ads in the past and how much you've sold. And you can use that to build a model that predicts, what's going to happen if you spend more or less on ads in the future.
So you can actually see like what kind of return you're getting on your ad spend.
Exactly. And then let's say you want to personalize like your email marketing campaigns.
Yeah, make it feel less like spammy and more like, you actually care about your customers.
Right, exactly. So for that, you could use generative AI. Instead of sending like the same generic email to everyone, you can use AI to like create unique emails that are tailored to each individual customer.
So it's taking into account like their past purchases and stuff.
Yeah, and even things like their browsing history or their demographics.
Wow, so it's like having a personal assistant for each of your customers, crafting the perfect email just for them.
Exactly. And then deep learning, this is really good for like customer segmentation and churn prediction.
Okay, hold on. Break those down for me. What does that even mean?
Okay, so customer segmentation, it's basically like grouping your customers into different categories based on their shared characteristics.
So like people who buy a lot of, shoes versus people who buy a lot of electronics.
Exactly. And deep learning can help you figure out those subtle patterns that like we as humans might miss.
So it's like finding hidden connections between your customers.
Right. And then churn prediction is it's basically trying to predict which customers are most likely to like stop doing business with you.
So you can try to stop them before they leave?
Yeah, you can reach out to them with like special offers or maybe just, try to figure out what's going wrong.
Smart. Okay, so we've covered econometrics, generative AI, deep learning. What about rule-based automation? What's a good marketing example for that?
Oh, so many good examples. Think about like those email sequences you get, after you sign up for a newsletter or something like welcome messages or product recommendations.
Oh, yeah. Or like those abandoned cart emails.
Yeah, those are often powered by rule-based automation. It's basically, setting up those rules. Like if someone adds something to their cart but doesn't buy it, then send them an email reminder.
That's pretty cool. So it's all about automating those like repetitive tasks that follow a set pattern.
Yeah, exactly. And what I found really interesting is this article, it actually talks about how ChatGPT can be used alongside all of these other models.
Oh, really? So it's not like you have to choose one or the other.
No, it's more like they can work together.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so for example, in the early stages, when you're like defining your problem, you could use ChatGPT to like brainstorm research questions or, maybe clarify some
So it's
concepts.
like bouncing ideas off of ChatGPT, getting its input.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you've got your results from your chosen AI model, you can use ChatGPT to help you like interpret those results.
So it's like translating the data into like plain English.
Exactly. And it can even help you write like reports or presentations based on the findings.
Wow, that's actually really useful. It's like ChatGPT is like a versatile assistant that can help you at every stage of the process.
Exactly. It's all about using the right tool for the right job, you know?
Yeah, it's not a competition. It's about finding the best combination of tools to like get the most out of your data.
Exactly.
This has been super helpful. I feel like I have a much better understanding of how to choose the right AI approach for my data.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
But I'm curious, what really stood out to you from this article? What was your like aha moment?
For me, I think it was just how the article made it clear, you got to pick the right AI for what you're trying to do. It's easy to get caught up in the hype like, oh, ChatGPT can do everything. But sometimes you need something simpler, more straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't use a hammer to try and, tighten a screw.
Right. You got to use the right tool for the job.
And I thought it was really cool how they showed that, ChatGPT can actually be helpful like throughout the whole process, even if it's not like the main AI you're using.
Yeah, it's like it can be your assistant. It can help you, brainstorm ideas, understand the results, even like communicate those results to other people.
Definitely. So I guess the takeaway is, there's no one size fits all solution when it comes to AI.
Right. It's all about understanding the different tools and using them strategically.
This article has really got me thinking, I'm already like brainstorming all the different ways I could use these AI models in my own work.
I know, me too. And you know what? It actually sparked a question for me. If you could use AI to analyze like any data set in the world, what would it be?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. What about you out there listening? What data set are you curious about? What mysteries would you unlock with the power of AI?
Maybe it's something personal, like, analyzing your own habits or choices.
Yeah.
See if there are any hidden patterns
Or
there.
maybe it's something bigger, like analyzing climate data to understand climate change better.
Or maybe like looking at social media data to see how information spreads and how it influences people.
The possibilities are really endless, aren't they?
They really are. And as these AI tools get, more powerful and easier to use, we're all going to have the ability to like really understand data and use it to make better decisions.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep on learning about AI and data analysis. You never know what you might discover.
And remember, ChatGPT can be your guide, your companion on this journey. It's not as scary as it seems.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. It's been a blast. And until next time, happy analyzing.